After watching this video, you may actually decide for yourself that you want to get this card. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel where we talk credit card points, miles, and all things travel hacking. Today's video is going to be a little interesting. I want to talk about why I do not want the Chase Sapphire Reserve now in 2025. Now, I think to fully understand why I'm taking that stance, I think it warrants a little bit of a history lesson. So let's start with when this card first launched. So, quick history lesson. The Chase Sapphire Reserve launched in August 2016 with the headline, Chase reinvents luxury credit card category with Sapphire Reserve. Now, when this launched, it definitely did live up to the name. This was the first viral credit card, especially the first viral travel credit card. And just to give you some context as to why, it launched with a 100,000 point sign-up bonus after 4K spend in 3 months. Earning categories were, and for the most part still are, and we'll get to that in a minute, 3x on travel, 3x on dining, 1x on everything else, $300 travel credit, which by the way is the broadest in the category, even today in 2025, car rental status, global entry / TSA pre-check credit, 50% boost on the portal, which by the way, this is one of the biggest superpowers of the Chase Sapphire Reserve and why most people still covet to this day, and with a $450 annual fee and $75 for each authorized user. Now, I mentioned earlier, this was the first viral travel credit card, maybe the first viral credit card. And just to give you some context as to what that looked like, in the first 2 weeks of launching, they received more applications than what they were expecting for the first 12 months of the product launch. They ran out of metal, the actual metal they used to create the cards, probably in just as much as time as it took for them to realize they were flooded with applications. And in fact, it was so viral that Chase ended up losing $200 to $300 million on this card in the first couple of years of launch. Now, this is important, and I mentioned that for a reason. This card hasn't changed that much, believe it or not, but it has changed a bit, and we're going to discuss the state of the card now in 2025 as of recording. The current sign-up bonus is 60,000 points for the same spend requirement. This part's improved a bit. It's 10x on hotels via the Chase portal, 5x on travel through the Chase portal, 3x on general travel, which again covers the broad category that Chase has on both this and the Sapphire Preferred, and it has 3x on dining, 1x on everything else. Same $300 travel credit, complicated, and I don't want to talk about this too much just because I don't have any personal experience with the card, but as per other YouTubers whose content is way more detailed than mine, it's a bit of a tricky complicated DoorDash membership and credit that you get to leverage, I believe, every month. Chase Sapphire Lounge access. Now guys, the Chase Sapphire Lounges are legit. My wife and I, we were able to access one, and we'll get into how in a bit. We were able to access one in our home airport of JFK last year. And guys, the food was top notch. Service was great. It wasn't terribly packed. Granted, we went in the morning, but still, it was not terribly packed. And the aesthetic was just really, really modern and sleek. And, you know, it felt like a luxury experience. It felt like it could have been a business class airline lounge. And the annual fee has now increased from $450 to $550 per year, but the same amount of money for an authorized user. That much has not changed. So before I start bashing on the card, I want to list the pros. And I mentioned this a couple of times already. Chase's travel, or what they define as travel, is the broadest in the credit card industry, at least in my personal experience. I have the Chase Sapphire Preferred. I've had it for a couple of years. Anything that could potentially code as travel, codes as travel. I'm talking planes, hotels, taxis, Ubers, subway, and any sort of mass transit. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch, but guys, anything that even remotely has to do with travel, and I think Airbnb, I could be mistaken, but I do believe Airbnb codes as travel. I will have to do some research into that, and I'll probably put something down below if I was right or wrong. yeah, this earning category is just, it's a huge superpower. Chase, nobody touches Chase when it comes to what they consider travel. The other big pro, and one that a lot of people in the space love, and for good reason, is the 1.5 minimum cent per point redemption value on their portal. So what does that mean? That basically means that if you earn points on this Chase Sapphire Reserve or any card you have linked to it and you happen to transfer over to Chase Sapphire Reserve, if you decide to book through their portal, the Chase portal, instead of transferring out to travel partners, you are guaranteed a minimum cent per point rate of 1.5 cent per point. Now, we haven't discussed cent per point much on this channel yet, and that's a whole other conversation for a different video. But basically, cent per point is what we use to measure how good of a redemption value you're getting for your points. So I'm going to make it super short because I could talk about this in another video, but anything below 1 cent per point is generally considered to be a bad value. Anything above 1 cent per point is considered baseline or average, or rather, this is the minimum acceptable redemption value for your points, right? And a lot of people comment about, I'm never going to redeem for anything less than 2 cents per point or 4 or 6 or some crazy numbers. But a lot of times for economy bookings, domestic travel, it's very difficult to get around 1 cent per point. So having a minimum floor of 1.5 is such a huge superpower. And honestly, a lot of people that stan the Chase Sapphire Reserve or the Chase trifecta do it for this reason, or this is at least one of the main reasons. And it's hard to blame them. It's really, really powerful. And as I mentioned before, the Chase Sapphire lounges are absolutely amazing. I've only been to one for context, so I can't speak for all of them. But the one that I did visit, again, not crowded, great food, great service, amazing design. It really captured a Manhattan sleek feel that it's hard to put in words, and I wish I had taken more videos and pictures when I was there, but it's just such a well put together lounge. So you're probably asking yourself, Mike, you haven't really said anything too major or too negative about this card to not want it. Why don't you want it? So for a long time in my head and discussing with my wife, I've been going back and forth as to whether or not I'd want to get this card or the Amex Platinum card. Now, these two cards have both pretty big annual fees, a lot of travel benefits, insurance, protections, statuses, what have you. Very recently, the Platinum card won this internal debate we were having. And I'll tell you why. Number one, the competition right now. I currently have the Venture X from Capital One, and I love this card. It is a workhorse that I definitely take advantage of the 2 points per dollar on every dollar spent for the general category. It is the best in the premium travel category, at least for transferable currencies. And I haven't had a hard time using the $300 credit that comes with the card. So if you're unaware, the Capital One Venture X has a $300 travel credit that arrives to your card every year. You have to use their portal, but I find that their portal is pretty easy to use. It's powered by Hopper, which, if you don't know, is like an Expedia or a Booking.com or one of those services. So it's really well built, well designed, and I am entering my second year of having the Venture X. My first year, I was able to use it within a month or 2 of having it for planned travel. So for that, I think that my $300 travel credit is already covered. I don't know if I would necessarily take advantage of another Chase travel credit on top of the Capital One Venture one. Maybe in the future, if I travel way more than I'm currently planning to the next 12 months, I'll consider it. But right now, I don't feel like I really need it. Again, with the Capital One Venture X, one of the things that's really special about this card is it has a $395 annual fee, but every authorized user you add, or rather I shouldn't say up to 4 authorized users are completely free. Guys, on the American Express Platinum card, I believe it's $195 per authorized user. With the Chase Sapphire Reserve, it's $95 per person. per authorized user, I should say. So with the Capital One Venture X, I get to add my wife as an authorized user for $0, and she gets her own priority pass, which is so valuable. She can enter the Capital One lounges on her own whenever she wants. She does not need me with her. And we actually have a lounge opening up in JFK and a landing, more on that on a later topic, in LaGuardia. So we're covered in both our major airports. Now, getting into the Platinum card, it's a bit of a heated debate in the credit card space. There are people who swear strictly by the Amex Platinum, people who swear by the Reserve, people who have both, or even all three of the major luxury credit cards. I personally, and I want to cover this in a future video, I actually just got approved for the American Express Platinum card, and I plan to explain in a future video why I applied for the Amex Platinum when I did. Originally on my roadmap, I had it planned for later in the year, but there were reasons that made me think now was the best time to get it. But anyways, the Platinum card is obviously pretty expensive. It's over $600 in its annual fee. It has a lot of credits, but here's the thing. Right now, with my expected travel for the next 12 months, I'm planning at least 4 or 5 trips in the next 12 months at minimum. I'm pretty sure it's going to go up. And I really think I could take advantage of the credits. The airline incidental fee is easily use for bag review, hotel card again. I can take advantage of that. And this is a overview of my but after doing my own math, I think without changing my current spend, I could take advantage of at least $1,000 in credits for the Platinum. So it doesn't really make sense for me to already have the Venture X, just get approved for the Platinum card, and then get the Reserve. I don't feel like the Reserve really has much to offer in my current setup. Another thing with the Platinum card, and again, this is not a review of the card, but I feel like I should mention it. It comes with hotel status, meaning the Hilton Honors Program, you get gold, which means you get potential room upgrades overseas. You technically get that domestically, but you don't have a lot of luck because most people have the Platinum card these days. And with Marriott Bonvoy, you also get gold status. So I really value this because it allows me to try out both. And in the future, once my core setup is built out and I want to venture into hotel credit cards, I will have an idea of what I want, and I'll just cancel the Platinum if I decide to and get a card that would get me elevated status for the hotel program I want. So that's something the Reserve does not give me. I feel like, yeah, you get a $300 credit, which can be useful. I'm not saying it's not, but I feel like the Platinum just gives me a little bit more for my future travel. Outside of the Platinum card, as I mentioned before, I already have the Sapphire Preferred, and while I do use it mostly now just for my subway and train tickets and whatnot, I don't use it much. And it still offers the same transfer partners as the Reserve. It's exactly the same. It's not any different. So Hyatt, United, Southwest, all those great partners that the Chase Sapphire Preferred has, the Reserve has. So I don't feel a need to upgrade my Preferred to a Reserve. Throwing that out there, you cannot hold both the Reserve and the Preferred. You can only have one card that's part of the Sapphire family. The last thing I want to address is the Chase Sapphire Lounge. Now, I've already talked about twice how much I love that lounge. So wouldn't it make sense that I would want to get a card that gives me access into a lounge that I happen to really enjoy? Again, my home airport is JFK, and we have the Chase Sapphire Lounge in JFK Terminal 4. Right next to it is a Centurion Lounge, and as I mentioned before, by mid this year, we're expected to have a Capital One Lounge also in Terminal 4. So if we take that into account and factor in my current cards, each card I have currently, each premium card I have currently comes with Priority Pass. Now, why is that important? With my Capital One card, I can get into the Capital One lounges. With my Platinum card, I can get into the Centurion lounges. With the Sapphire lounges, there are other ways to get in, meaning you can get in with a Sapphire Reserve card, and I believe you could also get in with the Ritz-Carlton card from Marriott. But you can also get in once per year with Priority Pass. Now, since I have 2 premium credit cards that both come with their individual Priority Passes, I currently have 2. So that means that I can get into the Chase Sapphire Lounge twice a year. My wife, who's an authorized user on my Venture X, could get in once a year. And if we decide to make her an authorized user, that's still a debate we're having right now as to whether or not it'd be worth it or not, she would also be able to get in that second time per year. Now, given that there are already a bunch of lounges in JFK, there are lounges in LaGuardia, I don't see myself needing to go to the Chase Lounge more than twice a year. So while I only have 2 of the big 3 luxury credit cards, I can get into all 3 lounges essentially as much as I would ever need to in a single calendar year. So because of that kind of math, I don't have a real incentive to get the Reserve card. And as Spencer Johnson talks about a lot in his channel, I love his content, by the way, like just shouting him out. And other creators say this too, but he really champions this point. You need to get cards, that premium cards, that allow you to have lounge access in your home airports. So I'm covered currently with my 2 premium cards, so the third one is not adding value. Not to keep hammering that point home, but just to explain why I don't feel like it's worth it for me today in 2025. Now, can I see this changing in the future? Absolutely, never say never. What do you guys think? Do you guys love the Sapphire Reserve? Do you hate it? I think it's a great card. It just does not fit my current setup. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and yeah. Thank you for stopping by this video. God bless.